this episode, Dude and Tyler get together for a quick episode with E.H. Taylor, Barrel Proof, and Small Batch. We talk about E.H. Taylor's history and break down the expressions of each bottle. Find out what they think on this episode of The Bourbon Hunters. But before we get started, do you want to support our podcast? Do you like bourbon gear? Visit our website at www.bourbonhunters.com to buy some of our custom bourbon gear and support the podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on our hunt for great bourbon. Reward yourself and sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. I'm Jude Poole. I'm joined by
Tyler Jason.
And Tyler with the sexy voice again, trying to bring all the girls to the yard. So today we've got just the two of us. We're doing a kind of a smaller episode just to, celebrate me getting a new bottle of bourbon, which is E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. So you might have heard a little bit about this on the Halloween episode. We drank some of this, and I just opened it that night. So we're going to have some of that against regular small batch, just compare the two. I think you're going to be surprised.
What did you pour first?
Really
Sorry.
Good. Small batch.
Okay, that's
we're going to go low to high.
Yeah.
So.
And I love small batch.
Yeah. No, it's a good just standard.
I think it's I think it is my favorite Buffalo Trace standard offerings. And I consider, a lot of them are, they're all distillery. Yeah, well, a lot of them are still allocated, but I think it's like of their standard products. Yeah. I think it's my favorite.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, you can get it at the distillery.
Yes.
So, like, it may not be every day, but between that, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Weller Antique.
Do they have Antique at there?
Antique's never at the distillery, no.
Yeah.
But Special Reserve is. But you can get it here in Ohio. That's why I mentioned it.
Did you grab an Antique recently?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had it in a long time.
I haven't either. I saw it and I was like, screw it, I'm going to grab one. Because you cleared me out.
I know, I did.
And I hadn't gotten
Little
any since
did we
then.
know that we would never see it for another year.
After you cleared me out, the only thing I had left was a screw top.
Same. I have about 3 pours of a screw top left.
I've got about half a bottle of a screw top.
And it's probably shit now. It's just sitting there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You keep it in the basement, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to talk about E.H. Taylor, the history. We're also going to talk about our stupid live nonsense that we always talk about. But we're going to add in a little bit of history there so you get some information. Did you know that
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man. Who? Colonel Edmund Haynes, that's what E.H. stands for, Edmund Haynes Taylor, was born in Columbus, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. I was not aware there was a Columbus, Kentucky. Back in 1832. So he's a descendant of 2 United States presidents, James Madison and Zachary Taylor. Did you know that?
Did not.
But he worked as a banker and a politician in Frankfort. He was even serving the city's mayor for 16 years from 1871 to 1887. So it was while he was working as a banker that he first began to finance local distilleries around Frankfurt. In 1869, he bought his distillery, purchasing the small Leestown distillery and the Carlisle distillery. The following year, he renamed that distillery, guess what? Old Fashioned Copper, or OFC. You might know that one. Although many believe the original name was Old Fire Copper in 1878. So Taylor ran into financial trouble and sold the distillery to George T. Stagg. Stagg then hired Taylor to run the distillery, which he renamed after himself in 1904. The freshly renamed George T. Stagg Distillery would eventually become the current Buffalo Trace Distillery, which was renamed that in 1992. So, what do you think? Did you know all that already?
I did not.
All right, so let's take the small batch. Let's nose it.
The nose on that's just so good.
It is. There's a sweetness to it that's just always there.
Fresh pear to me.
Yeah, there's definitely like a crisp fruit kind of smell to it.
Maybe a little floral, but not too much.
No, there's not much floral. Yeah, I think that's still part of the
fruitiness.
Fruit. Yeah. That's what I get.
There is like some sort of,
almost like a confectionery or a sweetness to it.
The nose, I mean, it's very like Granny Smith apple pie.
Yeah, that pie. That's a good comparison. I like that. I'm going to dive into this though because it's.
It's been a while since I've had. I was hoping when I was down there recently, and I got a Blanton's, but I went back the next day hoping that they would have either Eagle Rare or E.H. Taylor. And
Special Reserve.
Fucking Special Reserve.
Or Sazerac. Those are the two that I just don't care.
I think they have Sazerac every day now.
Do they now?
Yeah, because I thought I remember seeing them both days.
Okay.
And I was like, which by the way, if you've never been to Buffalo Trace's distillery, it's fantastic. It smells amazing. It's been forever since we've done a tour there.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak to that.
I've done 2 tours there.
Yeah, and you've done one of the high-end ones, right?
Yeah, I mean
like
high-end, but
only?
they're all... No. I had a chance to possibly do the VIP tour with Ronald Rankin, but we ended up not being able to go. Something happened that year, and I don't remember what it was. I think I was starting a new job. I think I was starting at Xerox and when he was going, because he was going in March, and I started at Xerox mid-February, so I couldn't go.
Okay.
But I've done the... it used to be called the Hard Hat Tour. I did that with AJ, and then I did the regular... What's it called? The Trace Tour or something like that?
I think we did that.
No, that's what I meant. I've done that one twice with you, with Trina. Yeah. Those were 2 different experiences. That's when we met Logan Haynes, who is now the Rickhouse, Basement Rickhouse guy on Instagram. He did our tour there, actually, and he was on the tasting panel at the time.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was a really good tour. It was much better than the one I did with Trina, which with Trina, they just played a video.
Yeah.
This guy just talked us through the whole thing. It was cool.
Yeah.
And then the Hard Hat Tour was really neat. You went back into the Pompeii area where they had unearthed, and then now they're recommissioning some distillery type stuff, aging vats or something like that. I don't remember what all they were doing, but they're redoing all that stuff and they're putting them back into production.
Very cool.
And then it was right on the river. But they I think it was actually referenced in Neat when they did the archaeologist guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it in Neat, but they referenced them unearthing that old part of the distillery in Neat.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat.
But that gift shop is
it's great.
Second to none.
So they have a ton of cool stuff there. And I'll say my favorite gift shops are probably the Four Roses new gift shop. That's a good one.
Yes, very nice.
The Buffalo Trace one is a really, really good one. And the Buffalo Trace one I think I like not because of the bourbon they have there, but they just have a ton of stuff there.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Like
as
decorations and like knickknacks.
And it's not one like. It's not just one of their brands. It's not just Buffalo Trace. Like you can get Stag stuff, Weller stuff, like shirts,
little milk carton crate things.
Sweatshirts. But then the knickknacks, and especially around Christmas time when you can get their ornaments
and things. Yeah,
you can get all of it.
Yeah, and it's just a nice. Do you remember the first time we went there? How much different it is now?
Oh yeah,
compared to the first time we went there. The first time we went there was just like the gift shop was almost like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And it was just this small little corner in the back of the room. And then now it's expanded back so far into the building, and it's huge. And it runs like a freaking,
It's big.
But they run it so efficiently that you're never in line for too long.
You see the line, and you're like, fuck. And then it's just like, boom, boom,
5
boom,
minutes
boom,
later,
boom.
you're out. You're like,
yeah.
whoa, okay, that wasn't so bad.
And they have carts.
Yeah.
Or little wagon or
they're like little.
Carts.
It's almost like an airport luggage thing.
Oh yeah.
But it's more of a grocery cart with the wheels, so you can tilt it and roll around, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
But the expandable handle, on them.
And there's a lot of people that hopefully on our trip, no one's like, I don't want to go to Buffalo Trace. Like, I want to go to Buffalo Trace,
just to see what they have that day. But also, I always like to pick up a Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
And around that time of year, because it's December, I like to get a bourbon cream.
Yep.
Because I'll start to put that in my coffee around Christmas and stuff. And then, just to see, like you said, some of the knickknacks and stuff they have.
Yeah,
for sale.
They have really awesome
books
ornaments
and stuff for sale
books,
there. Yeah.
Like just the gifts. I always try to grab a when I'm at a distillery, I always try to grab, a Glencairn.
Yeah. Did I tell you when I went there, the last time I went there, it was with, I wasn't with Trina. Oh, it was when I went down with
You were with Jason?
Jason to do the wild turkey pick. I stopped by there and on the way down, or it might have been on the Maker's Mark tasting, whichever. But they had it set up to where if you bought a bottle of whiskey, it didn't matter what you bought, they had these square rocks glasses that say Buffalo Trace on one side and a picture of the OFC Rick House on the other side. And it was $6 for two of them. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll take two.
Yeah.
I almost bought like 4 or 6, because you could. There was no limit. They were standing there with a box and handing them out to you.
I think Four Roses did this, but I could be wrong on that. But I love how Wild Turkey, if you buy a drink at their bar, you get the glass for free. And I forgot about that.
Wild Turkey, I've got glasses back there because of that.
Yes.
Every year we go, we get a drink there, and I love that too.
You can try some of their limited edition stuff.
Yep.
And then you get the glass for free, and you're like, oh, that's worth $15 alone.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
I like that too. And I usually get...
Did Four Roses do that when we got drinks there?
I don't have a glass from them, so I don't think so, because I got an old fashioned there. So
does anywhere else do that? You get the
Lux
glass
Row
for free?
might have done that. I don't, because I think I've got a Lux Row glass back there, but I can't remember if that was from a tasting or not. But I don't know. That's a good question. But Wild Turkey, that's one of the things I did love about them.
Jason's glass is still the best.
Yeah, Jason's glass is awesome.
I fucking love that.
It is. I drink out of it all the time.
Yeah.
I'll drink my bourbon out of it. It's neat.
Exactly.
It's almost too narrow for a thick rock glass. Or rock ice.
Yeah.
For like an old fashioned. But it's perfect. And the way it kind of, what do you call that when it like indents in the middle near the bottom? It almost still gets a good aroma out of it. But I love that glass.
Go back to the nose on this.
Well, we haven't even talked about the taste yet.
I know, but we're one sip in.
Yeah.
Well, this is now like apple cobbler. You get a little bit of the cinnamon on the nose.
Yeah, this is really, really good. I like that apple cobbler. Ooh.
Yeah, because you get some of the
cinnamon starts to come through on the nose after
brown
you had
sugar on the nose,
sugar.
But you get some of the apple crisp as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I sent you that the picture that I posted on our Halloween episode. I didn't have the Middle West Spirits in the picture. We added that after I took the picture. And that was a really good thing to add for the candy.
Very nice.
With the chocolates and stuff, that sherry finish was really good. So I love the Buffalo Trace Distillery. I know, Blanton's, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't care if they have Blanton's there that day. The things I'm really usually looking for when I go there is E.H. Taylor, Eagle Rare, or Blanton's. Those are the three.
Here's the other thing, too. Even if it's a Bland's day, I realized with the amount of stock that they had when I showed up at 12,
you don't have to be there right after.
You don't have to be there.
Yeah.
So, and remember when we went the last time it was a Bland's day, we just showed up. It was for our trip last year.
Yeah, and the line was
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that was a little bit of, hey, we had to be somewhat on schedule.
Right. Well, that's
leaving a little bit later wouldn't really make sense.
Well, and back. So here's the other thing is. Coming out of COVID, not all the gift shops came out of COVID at the same time. They didn't all, and what I mean by that is they didn't all go back to their original pre-COVID hours at the same time. So Buffalo Trace was one of the first ones to go back to like a 9 a.m. entry or opening or something like that for their gift shop. Other places were like 10. Some were noon.
Some are noon.
And I think on Google it even still says noon for some of them.
They're closed some days.
Like Monday, Tuesday for some. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. It's interesting how they came out of it. But that's one of the reasons why we would go to Buffalo Trace was because they were open first.
Yeah.
And then we could get out of there and get to Four Roses as it was opening at 10 or, Wild Turkey or whatever when it was opening at 10. And so that's one of the reasons why, plus in our direction we're coming from, it's the first one you run into.
Yeah.
Unless you go to Louisville first. But I think it makes sense to go there. And even with the line, as long as it is, you get in and out pretty quickly.
Sure.
They run it so efficiently that we're generally out of there by like 9:30, 9:45 at the latest. And then we can get to the next place by 10.
Yeah.
Generally. But yeah, that's why we stopped there first. And
by the way, we'll see how it goes if we're in Louisville and we get to stop by Michter's. If this is like
I sent them an email.
Good, because I was gonna say
but they still said, dude, they don't announce that like they do the tours. They don't let you do reservations of that ahead of time. What they do allow you to do is call there the morning of or go there the morning of and get on the list if they're doing it that day.
Yeah.
So I told you, and you saw the video, right? When I went to Michter's with Jason for the wild turkey pick, the morning of the wild turkey pick, they all went there and made reservations to come in and do the fill your own bottle experience. Yeah. And
you didn't.
I didn't. I wasn't there yet. But then when I got there, they had one spot left.
Ooh.
So
I we'll have to do that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to call Saturday morning.
I was just gonna say, like, if it's a no-go for 3 years in a row, I'm about to write a fucking email and be like, listen, we've been here for fucking 3 years in a row, and every single year it's a no.
Right.
Like, why even do this?
Yeah.
Like, why
They should do it every day.
Yeah, they should do it every day.
Why not? What's
like, don't advertise it.
I mean,
don't do it.
They charge like ridiculous amount for it. I mean, and I know what you're getting is cool, so it's worth the price in my opinion. But what they charge for, it's not like, they're giving it away like Buffalo Trace does for their tours and their tastings.
Yeah.
So like, they should do it every day.
Yeah.
And they should do it every Saturday.
Yes.
Every Saturday. That's when people are coming.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you do it on a Saturday?
Yep.
That's their best experience they have. They should do it every Saturday.
Yeah. But nowhere else do you go, at least off the top of my head, where they advertise for an experience and
half the time it's not there.
And 100% of the time it's not there for us.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it once.
Yeah, you've done it once.
Now,
100% of the time.
The big surprise for me, which I loved, I signed up for it just blindly, not knowing that it was bourbon and not rye that day. I thought I didn't even know they did bourbon for that. I thought it was always rye.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of their big thing, is the rye.
I wouldn't be disappointed with the bourbon, but I would be more excited for the rye.
I know you would be.
But I also have
I would be
barrel
excited.
strength rye.
Right.
So if I got a barrel strength bourbon,
That's why I was pumped. I was like, shit, I've never had this before.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. The first drink of it was like a medicinal cherry, but then after it opened up and oxidized a little bit, after we got past the hymen pour, it was really, really good.
Yeah, they're getting an email from me. Not an angry one, but of just like, what are we doing here, guys?
What kind of business are we running?
What kind of business are we running where 3 years in a row I come on a fucking Saturday and you don't have anything?
Right.
If anyone from Michter's ever listens to this,
it's always Prohibition weekend. Like, you'd think you'd be doing stuff around that.
It literally is the biggest
repeal
fucking
weekend or whatever you want to call it.
It's a repeal weekend. Is it the biggest weekend in bourbon?
I mean,
it's a bourbon holiday.
It's a bourbon holiday for sure, and it should be
the Christmas of.
It's a liquor holiday in general.
But
yes, bourbon loved it. Like bourbon celebrated like crazy for that.
Yeah, it's always my pet. It's in the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna be fucking ticked off.
Since we're only doing 2 pours this evening,
that's fine.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of a heftier pour of my barrel strength, barrel proof. So,
you know what I cracked open the other night? Not cracked open, but I had when it got down pretty cold. Heath was over, and I'm like, I was like, let's have this, and I surprised them. Was the Midwinter's Night's Dram?
Oh yeah,
and Heath was very surprised at how sweet it was.
Yeah, I mean, he'd never had it before.
No,
okay.
And I was like,
they actually get their hands on a lot of good stuff. Surprised me that they hadn't had it yet.
They do.
Like, I'm always like surprised when I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, they're like they're in the lost land whenever they go down.
In Kentucky, yeah, because it's like not the trail.
No, it's not the trail.
Right.
And truly where it is, it's south of where you grew up in
it's like eastern Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I always view Lexington as like eastern Kentucky, and it's fucking not.
No,
it's
it goes all the way to North Carolina.
I know. So
and Virginia and Ohio. Like,
So when I was like, how far are you from Lexington? They're like, probably an hour and 20 minutes. I'm like, you're fucking an hour and 20 minutes east of Lexington. They'll walk in places and like it's where people just can't afford. Like they just can't afford a fucking $200 bottle of bourbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like so even if they get stuff in that's allocated, like they can't price it crazy. Yeah. There was one thing Heath was like, "Do you think there was a Bland's for like $90?" And I'm like, "It's not the worst."
I mean, if you're really needing a Blanton's, like you're running low or you're out of them, and you really want to have one,
or you never had one,
right? Or you've never had one. Like the first one I ever bought for you was
$100. Yeah,
and I just remember it was your birthday weekend. I was like, well, shit. I mean, you've never had it before.
Yeah.
So
it's the first one.
I mean, I'll pay $100 for that.
And then didn't we get one like shortly after?
I had gotten my first one at that 11th Avenue.
Oh, well, you got
I sat
it
outside and they kept telling me no, telling me no. Then some guy walked out with one. I'm like, mother.
Wasn't it like right before the trip or something like that?
It was
because you had gotten one,
and then you're
October
or something.
You're
like that.
I didn't have one, and so you're like, this will be your birthday.
Yeah, that's exactly how.
Very
it went.
nice.
Yeah.
Do we have any before we dive into the barrel proof? Do we have any bourbon blitz?
So we are So we've got the Airbnb reserved. I've got 3 people that have not paid me still for that, which are 3 that I. Well, one I haven't even asked for actually, but the other 2 don't surprise me with not paying me.
Yeah.
But one I haven't even asked.
I paid you pretty quickly.
You did, and that's new for you.
It's new.
Usually you're handing me cash on our trip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you son of a bitch. This has been sitting on my credit card for like 2 months.
Jillian's like, the other day, like, I won't say how much, but Jillian the other day, like, just due to her business, like, she's like, why didn't you ask cash? I'm like, I didn't know you have cash. She's like, yeah, I have X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
She's probably burying shit in like coffee cans in the backyard.
Like in the fucking backyard. Yeah, seriously.
So as we get into this next one, everyone knows it's Colonel E.H. Taylor, right? Well, what does Colonel mean? I mean, in Kentucky, they use Colonel as an honorary term. So it's an honorary title that they give to people. Think about like knighthood in England. It's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So when someone in Kentucky has lived a life that is worth giving some sort of accolades for, a lot of times the governor will bestow the honorary title of Kentucky Colonel. Has no affiliation with any type of military rank. But it's, recognizing their accomplishments throughout their life. And usually they're their accomplishments within the state of Kentucky or to better the state of Kentucky. That's a lot of times what is happening when they get that Colonel Hood, if you want to call it that. The Colonel Hood. So anyway, that is why it's Colonel E.H. Taylor, if anyone was wondering. Now, I don't know, and I feel like I've read this a few different places. Before we get into this part of like the E.H. Taylor, I don't want to slander E.H. Taylor, but some of the mythology and the stories like you hear from Buffalo Trace, they don't tell you some of the stuff about him that's negative. They tell you how his influence on, the Bottled and Bond Act and all that kind of stuff of 1897. But before we get into that, the mash bill. This is the same mash bill that they use for Buffalo Trace, for Eagle Rare, for Stag. So it's mash bill number 1. And if you don't know, at Buffalo Trace,
they have 2 trees. Very cool.
They have 2 bourbon mash bills, and then they have a rye mash bill and then a wheat mash bill. So I guess the wheat mash bill is technically a bourbon mash bill as well. But they have 2 rye-based bourbon mash bills, a wheat-based bourbon mash bill, and then a rye mash bill. So those are the mash bills that they have at Buffalo Trace. Mash bill number 2 is the one that you'll see for things like Blanton's. Mash bill number 1 is
a higher rye for the 2.
Yeah, the mash bill number 1 is the traditional bourbon mash bill of corn, rye, malted barley, but it's a lower rye percentage. Mash bill number 2 is the higher rye mash bill percentage.
And we don't know the actual percentages, right?
They don't publish the percentages, but they just call it a low rye, and that just means that rye. When it's a rye-based bourbon mash bill, corn is at least 51%. Rye is the secondary grain, and then malted barley would be the third, the tertiary grain. But with this mash bill, like I said, you've got Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, George T. Stagg, E.H. Taylor, Benchmark, those are some of the ones that you're going to see in this lineup, all with the same mash bill, which I think is just incredible that they've got that many products that come out of the same mash bill.
Yeah.
And just putting them in different rick houses, different levels of the rick house, those types of things all get you a different product.
Yeah.
And a different
it's very cool
expression or taste profile. I just think that's really cool.
It's actually something I haven't really thought about too much, you know. You look at some of the other distilleries and they have some amazing products, but then the mash bills are different.
Yeah.
And you're looking at all the different products of Buffalo Trace and they come from two.
Well, I mean, not counting the weeded one, 3, and then rye for the 4th, but they have 4 mash bills technically. But I mean, you think about
most of them come from 2.
A lot of the things that change it are, you know, the proof of the bourbon as it's bottled. That's going to change the profile. The aging time, so the amount of time it spends in the barrel. The location in the rick house, which rick house, the location of the rick house itself.
Yep.
All of those things play a part as to how, the bourbon is going to mature during its time in the barrel.
Yeah.
And so that is going to open up different profiles. They know some of that stuff, or they can kind of guess some of that stuff. And that's how, you get your blends. That's how you get your Eagle Rares. You get your Buffalo Traces.
As a side note, one of the things that I was talking with a gentleman at Justin's House of Bourbon was the ages of the oak that they used in the past versus now. And they're using like.
What do you mean the ages of the oak? Because an oak tree has to be a certain age anyway before they can even cut it down and use it.
Correct. And I think he said maybe like 16 years.
Oh.
But the old oak that they used to use, they're like 100-year-old oaks.
I think they have to be like 60, 70 years before they can use it in a barrel.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. The oak doesn't grow fast. It's not like pine that is,
or maple.
Something that's softer wood.
Yeah. I could be wrong on that, but I thought that they were, on some of the older stuff, they're using 100, 200-year-old oak trees.
Yeah, back in the sure, and I'm sure they're still.
And I don't think
doing that when possible.
Yeah, and I don't think that long ago. You know what I mean? I'm not talking. Obviously, that's the case 100 years ago.
Yeah,
but I would bet until the bourbon craze of like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were probably still using some really old stuff.
Probably. And then, not only that, but they season it. Like sometimes it's
because you're not using that for lumber. You're not,
right. But they have to season it, and sometimes that seasoning process is shorter or longer. Yeah. That helps too.
What was I couldn't remember. I was talking to him. I couldn't remember the distillery in Cincinnati. They're not a distillery. They're a finisher, but everything was based off of
the Noble Oak place.
Yes,
but I think it's Cincinnati Distilling Company or something.
Okay,
like that.
Okay. And I just think that what that guy's doing with the different expressions around finishes around the wood was just really, really unique. I mean, are you seasoning it for 2 years or 6 months? Are you seasoning it in different weather?
Right. And all that plays a part in the finish of the bourbon. So, I mean, that's just, it's interesting how all those things play a part. You go to the distilleries, they always say that they always throw out a percentage, which I don't know how they can quantify this, but a percentage of what the wood imparts in the flavor.
By the way, I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but the Bardstown Carter, they haven't released it yet. The Carter Cellar.
The one that you had a taste of.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, let's nose this bad boy.
Are we on their media list?
I don't know. I've sent out so many requests, but they haven't all responded.
Yeah.
Nose on this is actually very sweet.
Yep.
But what's interesting about this is I think this is outstanding.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this is the proof is actually pretty dang high. It's 127.9.
And you would not guess that.
I'm sorry, 127.3.
You would not guess that. It does not drink hot.
It doesn't. Not that hot anyway.
No.
I'm thinking
you get a little like tingle on the front.
At the very beginning.
The very front.
But we're also coming from a 100 proofer.
Yeah.
But like I think it tastes like it's like a 1 teens.
You don't get any, upchuck in the
right. Yeah. No,
like you do in Old Forester.
It's crazy how good this drinks.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I love E.H. Taylor. It's 100 proof, and that's like that sweet spot a lot of times. But this, this is dangerous.
The secondary on it came down, but I saw one go for like 420 the other day, and I'm like,
barrel proof?
Yeah, I'm like, God damn it.
I got it for free.
I know. How many do you have to just give one away for free?
Oh, that was my thought too. They gave away 2 for free.
Yeah.
One for Jason, one for me.
Yeah.
And so that was exactly my thought. And did they go buy them to give them away, or did they just have a few sitting around?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask them because I was like so happy they gave me that. I was like, wow, all right, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. So
that's incredible.
Going back to the nose, I feel like I get a very confectionery kind of nose to it. And there's almost like a hint of a hint of bubblegum. And I think that bubblegum hint is because it's almost like a powdered sugar. Like, you remember the old baseball card packages that you used to get, and they would come with that piece of gum in the bottom with that powdered sugar, and you open it up,
yes.
and that's the kind of smell I'm getting. Yeah. So it might not even be gum. It might just be reminding me.
My nose isn't great today.
But I think that's all. I think that's what I'm really getting is that powdered sugar that goes on the gum. I don't think I'm getting a gum. I think it just reminds me of gum.
Yeah.
But that, along with the sweetness, I think is where I'm getting gum from. But
the palate on it is fantastic.
Yeah, this is a long finish, but not like it's not the proof. And the proof is probably what's amplifying it, but the finish is long.
Some oaky.
There's some oak on it. It's very
maybe a
sweet.
little leather, but not too much.
Yeah, I mean, with the oak, I think leather and oak just kind of go hand in hand a lot of times. Yeah. But this is just outstanding. This is I'd never had E.H. Taylor barrel proof even like given to me as a drink or bought at a bar. So this is the first experience I've ever had with it.
Really?
And I didn't pay a thing for this, so like I'm not like.
That's awesome. You have a single barrel though.
No,
or you got
I had a single barrel.
You had a single barrel.
It's gone. It's gone.
And we didn't love that.
Nah, we didn't. It was probably it's the only single barrel I've had, but it was easily worse than the small batches.
Yes.
It was. I did not enjoy it at all. And I thought, well, maybe the longer it sit, but no, I never enjoyed it. Yeah. Whenever I wanted E.H. Taylor,
you hated it so much you fucking drank it.
I didn't hate it, but it wasn't as good as the small batch. The small batch always ranked higher, and we did a few blinds, just to test, because every time the small batch won out, and it goes to show single barrels aren't always the best, but sometimes you find some single barrels that are just like insane, like a little off profile or on profile enough, but off profile enough to really be like, wow, that was good, you know. But this E.H. Taylor barrel proof is. It's up there for me in what I've had this year. Sure. I think so far this year, some of my favorite pours that I've had, the Four Roses limited edition from this year is phenomenal.
I've heard.
You didn't make it that day. I was so upset. The Michter's 10 that Jason brought over was phenomenal. Yeah. The Toasted Barrel Rye barrel proof Michter's from this year was really good. That was really, really good. What else did we have this year that was just like there were just some lights out stuff that Jason's brought over this year. Yeah. And but those are probably my 3, and then you add in this, that's 4 that are probably my favorites I've had this year. Sure. And I don't even know that this is a limited release from. I don't even know what year this is from. This could have been last year. This could have been I don't know, but those are the 4 best bottles I've had this year. Yeah, I would think. I
would say whatever we've had from Jason that he's brought over throughout the year.
Every time he comes over. Of
course. And then personally what I've had is there's 1 or 2 Four Roses picks that I've had that are just outstanding.
Oh, that was the other thing. The Rickhouse CNF, single Rickhouse CNF was really good. Then Brett last week brought over his Russell's Reserve single barrel pick from Bourbon Enthusiast from Camp Nelson K. Or not Camp Nelson, I'm sorry, Tyrone K. that was so good.
Yeah.
It was almost as good as the single Rickhouse Russells.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
there was, and then there's another Russell's pick that somewhere along the lines I'd gotten one that it's just outstanding.
Well, and that's Jason's argument is like, listen, are you going to pay $300 for a bottle of single Rickhouse when you might get an $80 bottle single barrel of Russell's? It's just outstanding.
I think the one that we got our last year when we stopped in, that was amazing. Maybe
yes,
that was it.
That was the one that they had held back and had been sitting like for 6 months bottled in a warehouse, and then they finally got it. Yeah, when we were on our trip. You're right. That was really good. But, I mean, I've had so many good picks from them.
Yeah.
So many good picks.
So I'm up to, I wonder what Jason's at, if he keeps track or not. I'm at 120.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm close to 500.
By the way, I actually enjoyed that.
Oh man, go back to that.
Yeah,
the finish is getting sweeter the more you drink it.
Yeah, the is it called Oak and Leather? That's in Hilliard.
Is that a?
It's a distillery. Shop? It's a distillery, I guess, in Hilliard. We should probably reach out to them first.
Yeah, it's just right over there. It's like right by us.
I liked the drink that I had.
Where did you have it?
So my first drink of the night was
where were you?
The barn. So I went to
the
barn has a very good whiskey list.
Right.
It's big, but you're definitely paying for it.
Yes.
The best thing that they have there is they have a flight. I thought about it, but still didn't get it.
Real quick, did they have something from there on their menu?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was $20 for 2 ounces.
What are they doing? What are they making?
I have no idea.
Well, what did you order?
It was a bourbon. Okay. But like it was just like.
Are they making it or are they sourcing it?
Don't have any idea.
It's just right there. I looked it up after you asked me about it. I'd never heard of it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then they also show up on OHLQ.
Yeah.
As to not having like, have you looked on OHLQ and does it show up for you?
I didn't look.
So if you look on OHLQ for something,
it shows up there, but there's nothing. It shows
up, but they have no stock, and I'm just like, well, why are they a liquor store? Maybe their gift shop. They can sell their own stuff.
Okay,
that's the only thing I can think. But oh damn it,
is it Oak and Leather, Leather and Oak,
Leather and Oak, right there,
Leather and Oak.
So not available. It's like so if you're looking for like Old Forester Whiskey Row, it's not there, but that shows up as a liquor store. Huh. So I wonder if they have a gift shop where you can go buy stuff that they've sourced or made or whatever.
We'll have to get them on.
We'll just go walk in.
Walk in one day. Yeah. Seriously.
Just check it out. But it's Franklin Street. It's just right over there.
Yeah.
And the best part is it's Franklin Street.
Well, I saw it in the menu. It says Hilliard, and I'm like,
yeah, it says Franklin Street Unit E.
Unit E.
So it's like it's a part of a building. It's not the whole building.
Yeah, they're probably doing some sort of expressions or whatever.
Something's going on.
But it had a really good leather and oak tones to them.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Maybe they're just aging stuff in leather and oak.
It was like a great cigar blend. It was a great cigar blend.
Yeah.
I forget what I had the first drink, and I was like, this is solid. But nothing to like blow my socks off.
Well, I mean, makes sense.
They had OFC there for, I think it was like $400 for an ounce.
For a half ounce.
Yeah. No, but the one cool thing that they do that isn't really that cool, if you order... your name goes in a drawing, and when the bottle is empty, they basically raffle that bottle off to whoever purchased.
So they can fill it up with fake stuff, seal it.
No, it's empty. It's just the.
No, I'm saying so the person who wins the bottle can fill it up with fake stuff.
Oh yeah,
reseal it and sell it for thousands.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what are your final thoughts on this particular barrel proof E.H. Taylor?
Wow, that gets better as you drink it.
More and more. I'm like, after you leave and Trina comes home, I'm probably going to have some more of this.
Nice, you should.
It's good.
It's very good.
I'm afraid that I'm going to have to do what you do and like hide this after a few days because it's going to go down fast.
Yeah. Well,
like your wife.
Just get to the third and call it a day.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Or halfway. I don't want to get too far below halfway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, to answer your earlier question, the trip, we have the Airbnb booked. We have a tasting at Jim Beam booked, which is
It's not the one we did last year, right?
We've never been to Jim Beam.
Sorry.
So,
I was thinking of Evan Williams.
No, this is Jim Beam.
Yep.
And it's at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Friday. So we could potentially do the tasting and then stick around for dinner at the kitchen table if we wanted to.
Very nice.
Or if we decide it's still too early or something like that. Or we could, if we're thinking we're done, it's 2 o'clock, let's go to kitchen table now and eat lunch, late lunch or something. Yeah. We could do that too.
Sure.
But that's the only thing we have reserved so far.
Reserved. We haven't even road mapped of like where.
Well, we'll go through the typical stops, I think. And I've never been to Jim Beam. Neither has Jason. Neither of you. And I wanted to go somewhere we hadn't been before.
I don't think we're going to make it to Makers, right?
It would be tough. I mean, we could go. It would be tough.
What's today?
It would be tough.
It's first. Yeah, it's just so far out of the way.
It is. And you're not guaranteed anything when you get there.
Well, and not only that, but like, not that they're bad, but whenever you get there, you're not getting the cellar aged. And
the one thing it's
like the wood finishing series, and you're like, okay, but like,
the wood finishing series is done.
Yeah, it's like half the time when you go there, it's like they have nothing unique,
but they have their own like private selects that they've crafted there, which is, I'm always for a private select. Those are all good.
They are, but there's something that
but now that 101 is available everywhere, and now that the 46 cask strength is available, everywhere. It's just sitting on the shelf. I sent a picture to Brett. There's like 12 sitting on the shelf at Giant Eagle.
I've seen them everywhere.
And so I've got 2 of them right now, so I'm like not in a hurry to get more.
Yeah.
But the 101 is I like the 101. It's good.
The biggest issue that I have with their series now, the OHLQ ones, shouldn't they be coming out now?
Yeah, I think they're coming soon.
Because it's around that Thanksgiving time where they usually do like bread pudding.
But you know what? Yeah. But you know what sucks is Jason has 3 amazing picks coming out here in the next month. Bourbon Enthusiast is supposed to tomorrow have a pick Friday. It's supposed to have a pick of Russell's coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got all these like amazing picks happening right before we go on the trip. I was part of the pick with Jason. I know those are good.
And we got some other stuff too. Potentially. We'll see. I'll let you know.
You mean from JD? You already told me about that. Oh.
No. More stuff.
Well, and then that's the other thing. So while we're in Louisville on Saturday, Jason's trying to set up a barrel pick on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that'll be the other thing that potentially determines how we manage our day on Saturday.
One of the things that I wouldn't mind going to is one, I have almost zero desire to go back to Heaven Hill.
Yeah, gift shop. I've been because they had larceny last time we went there.
Yeah,
barrel proof. So I wouldn't mind going to the gift shop, stopping in, see what they have, and then leaving.
Sure, if we're in town,
because their gift shop's not bad.
But
we'll be in town. Bardstown's right there. I mean, I want to hit Bardstown Bourbon Company.
I want to go to Bardstown. That's what I was going to say.
I want to go to Luxro, and I want to go to Heaven Hill. Yep. You can't go through and not stop at those places.
I wouldn't mind doing something at Bardstown.
That's the tough thing, though, is when are we going to get there?
Exactly.
And then we have to be up at Jim Beam, which is like 40 minutes away from there.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure this out. It's tough. Like, honestly, organizing all this stuff, knowing that you have to, that there's always... And here's the thing, like gift shops. I had so much fun last year when we threw off our schedule by staying at Four Roses and having a drink at the bar.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff that we sit there.
Ooh, we have to go back to Four Roses.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I could care less if we go to Woodford.
No, because I got the bottle.
No, but generally speaking.
But yes.
It's just the only thing they ever have there is their regular stuff.
Yes.
And unless it's a special release time, which generally it's not for us.
Yes, and it's like a 1 day a week.
Right.
Or 1 day here and there. You know what I mean? And I got the bottle.
So that's not... I'm not that concerned about Woodford. I love Woodford. If I went to Woodford, what I would want to do is their tour.
Yes, which we never have time for.
We just don't make time for it. That's all.
Sure.
Like we could always do Buffalo Trace, then go to Wild Turkey, Four Roses, and then back to Woodford for a tour if we wanted to. You know?
Yeah.
We could do that. But we've just never done it that way. Yeah. We always end up at Bardstown.
I would rather go to Wild Turkey, and I would rather go to. By the way, has Jason said anything about when Wild Turkey's opening their?
No, but when I was there, Bo Garrett said it was looking to be early 2024.
Yes, but I think Jason might be going back to that.
For that opening?
Yes.
Well, if he does, I'm going with him.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm telling you that now, Jason, if you're listening.
Me too, because...
No, you're not invited. You can drive separately.
But...
No, I want to go. If they have like a grand opening or a ceremony or something, I would love to go to that. 'Cause I love Wild Turkey.
Yeah.
Like, I love Wild Turkey.
I know.
Like, I was so excited when he invited me on that barrel pick. Yeah. That was so fun. You know, meeting Bruce Russell.
Did Jason pick anyone for the Jack Daniels? I think it's this month.
I don't know.
I didn't see anything.
I didn't even ask.
I put my name
because I figured I might be starting a job around then. So
yeah, I put my name in the hat, but
yeah, I didn't.
It's probably like, fuck this kid.
I mean, that's what we say usually. All right, so your final thoughts on this? One more sip, and then tell me what you think.
It's fantastic.
It's getting better as I drink it. The mouthfeel is amazing. It's a very like oily, viscous mouthfeel, which I think comes from a barrel proof sometimes. But like, it's
really
it's definitely not thin at all. It's got a texture, like I don't want to say texture, but it's got that taste of a texture.
Is there anything that you could read off on this barrel proof that is very unique to it?
I mean, no.
Like, hey, look for X, Y, and Z.
It's 63.65% alcohol, 127.3 proof. That's the only thing that I can tell you.
Gotcha.
I don't know when this was made. I don't know what year this was released. I don't know any of that stuff. I think the tax stamp at the top might have, but this isn't technically a bottled and bond, so I don't think it has to have that information on it. So I don't know.
Sure.
It just says barrel proof. It looks like a tax stamp, but it's not an official tax stamp.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know it's outstanding. It is so good. It's better than I actually expected it to be. Because you know how a lot of these things, they just get big for their britches, if you will.
Sure.
You know, they start to just get a name, and like people just, if it's Buffalo Trace, everyone wants it.
Yeah.
And you know, like the Amaranth or the Tornado Survivor, whatever, like all of those, I'm sure they're good, but like they get this name and they go for, you know, hundreds of dollars, and I don't know. This was just, to me, a lot better than I expected.
Sure.
I was really impressed by this bottle.
And it helps that you paid $0 for it.
Yeah, for sure. But it also, I'd be more apt to tell you if I didn't like something if it was zero than if I went and spent $200 and I've been looking forward to it for years, and then I'm like,
it's okay.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. But it's
like, yeah.
But this is something I have no vested interest in.
So
I didn't pay anything. I got it for free. Like,
really curious point for you. You saw this sit on the shelf. What would you pay secondary for that bottle?
Ooh, that's a good question. Now that I've had,
you've had
obviously they're not all the same batches.
Correct.
So they're going to be different year to year. However often they batch them.
Yeah.
They're going to be different. This one here, if I knew it was going to taste like this,
yes,
I might go 150, 200.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That would be the limit for me.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to go over $200.
You certainly spent more on worse.
For sure.
Yeah.
Same. No doubt.
Very same.
No doubt. If I knew it was going to taste like this, I'd pay up to $200 for it.
Sure. Yeah. What's the worst purchase you've ever?
Buyer's remorse wise, probably the Boss Hog.
Yeah.
It's $500. It's good, but it's not so good that you're just like, woohoo! I'm glad I paid $500 for that. I mean, it was good, but to me, it was like a $200 bottle of whiskey.
So I would say mine is I paid $125 or $129 for Kentucky Owl, which was just that was back in the day. Yeah. Just stab me in the fucking heart.
No.
What's the most expensive one that you've paid for that you're I think that's worth it?
Oh, well, I was going to say that may be the most expensive bottle I've ever bought.
What
was that Boss Hog or whatever?
Yeah, but what's the most expensive
I know what you're
one?
Asking. I get the question.
I know that you have not paid a lot of secondary, and really neither have I.
I generally don't.
Yeah.
That I was happy with.
Yeah, you're like, that's probably fucking worth it.
I'd probably say Lux Row, the 12.
Yeah.
The double barrel, 12 years. Every one of those has always made me happy.
Yeah,
I love those, and they're like 175, 180, something like that. And I can buy that if it's in the gift shop, I buy it. Yeah, because it's never let me down.
Every single time I have it, it drinks too hot to me for whatever reason. I don't know why.
I don't think that.
I know you don't. And I actually had it in a blind with JD, and now the barrels in there were supposed to be older.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I was told that they were like 14-year-old barrels in there. I don't know. But it was good.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it until after the fact.
To me, it's always good.
I was like, damn.
The other one would be even the Rebel single barrel, the Weeder.
So the most expensive bottle that I bought, I actually just confessed to Jillian the other day, was the Bland Straight from the Barrel. That was worth it. I truly think.
What did you pay for that?
$250. Oh,
that's not bad for Straight for the Barrel.
Yeah. But I truly drink it and I'm like,
it's good.
What
would you pay for this E.H. Taylor?
I don't think that I would have a problem paying $250.
Yeah,
$200, $250
I mean, 200. I think 200.
Yeah,
maybe 250. Maybe
Yeah,
but I'd have to know it was this bad.
Exactly.
It's so good.
Yeah,
I was.
But you
really
you also don't see
really
E.H. Taylor. I mean, I really like E.H. Taylor.
I do too.
Especially at their MSRP.
We get the small batches enough at the distillery.
Yes, that we're like
that. I have enough. Fantastic. I've got like 4 or 5 back there.
I do too.
I don't know how many, but something like that.
So I really, really enjoy it. And then the barrel proof. Now I've really only seen barrel proof from $400 to $500, and I'm like, I'm not paying that.
Yeah,
but if I saw it for $200, $250, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
And here's a good example, the Wild Turkey Generations. It was really good.
Yeah.
Wasn't worth $450 MSRP.
Fuck. It's that much?
Yes. It's insane.
It was like $250.
No, it's insane. That's the MSRP is $450. It's insane. But it's good. It's just not that good.
Yeah.
And I get what they're doing. They're capitalizing on the combination of all 3 generations creating a bourbon together, hence the name.
Yes.
It's just not. It's not worth $450.
Sure.
Unless you're collecting it, knowing that it's the only time they're ever going to ever do this, maybe. Yeah. Because he's so old that you're.
How bad do you think that fucking EH or the Eagle Rare 25-year is?
I have no idea. I don't even care. $10,000 MSRP. I don't care.
Yeah.
The other one is the cellar aged makers. It's really good. I'd probably pay that. It's really. I don't remember the price for sure. Yeah. It's over $250, I believe.
Okay.
But that one was really, really good. I was surprised at how good that one was.
Sure.
But Jason claims that like as you drink it, it doesn't hold up in blinds. Like if you do other stuff against it, it doesn't do as well.
Yeah. But how
that was one of the ones that I think
we talk about this with Jason all the time. How often does he have stuff from an apps?
Well, he paid for his. He paid for his cellar aged.
Yes, he can. But how often does Jason have stuff that is just from distilleries that are just pretty much unknown, that are just unreal? It's pretty often.
Well, unknown to you and I.
Sure.
But to him, he's always on the cutting edge of knowing the up and comers and stuff.
Yeah.
He gets and you'll see it in his whiskey club.
Yeah.
Like his private selection club. He'll have some stuff that you've never heard of that's like, whoa.
Yes.
Like I remember Rare Character has blown up now.
Yeah.
He had a Rare Character that was amazing.
Yes.
Bourbon Enthusiast did it too, but it was.
But also like on the same line, like you only like 4 Grain. 4 Grain makes some great stuff. But Who knows about 4 grain outside of 5% of the bourbon the bourbon enthusiasts out there?
Who?
4 grain.
I think you mean 4-gate.
4 grain. Oh. I don't know who that is. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know who 4 grain is.
Let's wrap this up. You're drunk. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in for another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us on yet another hunt for great bourbon. Please give us a 5-star review anywhere you are listening. But if you can't, leave some constructive criticism in the review so that we can get better at improving our show. Good reviews help us bring better guests on for your listening pleasure, not mine. But until then, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon.